This episode of Talk Boxing is sponsored by DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now for fights every week. And the pick of the bunch, Usyk versus Fury 2, live from Riyadh. You can buy this now at DAZN.com/boxing. And you can click the link in the description or just scan the QR code in the bottom left-hand corner.
Have you removed your from the fence?
No, definitely got splinters on my right now because I'm still definitely on the fence.
I think Tyson Fury's got the attributes to beat Usyk. There was times in that first fight where he did seem like he was playing around.
Do you think this is the best fight card the Saudis have put on yet?
I think it's the best fight card I've seen. This is a WBC interim title fight, and all of a sudden Anthony Joshua gets that shot again. It sort of seems unfair on the other fighters who are out there. You mentioned him, Martin Bakole. Where is he?
The only time I wouldn't have went that route is if it was like a bigger fight like Fury or Usyk. You got to avenge it.
I've seen people, writing me off, including you, Simon, thinking
I
I'm
did.
going to lose.
I owe an apology. Yeah.
I'm open to fighting anybody.
One of the arguments might be that you want too much money. Welcome to episode 98 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. We're today joined by a very popular fighter, unless of course you're Queensberry, who's expecting a big 2025, which is Anthony Yarde, light heavyweight contender. Anthony, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
You too.
We're going to kick straight off by getting straight into the card that's just been announced. There's been another part of the Riyadh season being announced, which is the Crescendo card for February of next year. There's some serious fights on there. But before I get into the card, I just wanted to talk about one particular fight which might interest Anthony, which is the matching of Callum Smith versus Josh Boetzy. When you look at that matchup, what does that make you think? Given possibly one would suggest it would have been you.
It just makes me think, like, why? That's my honest question, is why. And
why? And
we'll
what do you mean why?
Because no one wants to see that fight. In all respects, it's a good fight. Maybe a few years ago, but right now the demand is for me to be. I thought Beterbiev gave him one of his hardest fights. Smith, say again.
Gave you one of your hardest fights.
No, I thought Beterbiev gave him one of his hardest fights.
Okay.
It's on his undercard. It makes sense. The demand is for me and Boetzy. We was trying to make this fight. It didn't happen. I got told time and time again, I want to fight you. Everyone's saying he wants to fight.
But you must know why. I mean, one of the arguments might be that you want too much money.
That's impossible.
It's not impossible. No.
It's not true at all.
What was the reason for the negotiation breakdown? Because, everybody's thinking, we've got you, Boetzy, the fight that's been talked about for so long, and it would make sense on that card with the winner of the Undisputed fighting the winner of that fight, because that's an obvious fight to make. That's been the talk. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Callum Smith comes in. So there must have been a negotiation breakdown at some point. And how was that? Was that just wrong advice from, your side? I mean, where did that come from?
The negotiation breakdown is, I'm at a stage in my career where I want to do, I want to do it fight by fight, or I want to be able to negotiate per fight. I don't want to be tied in to, for the rest of my career, or to say, this is what you're going to get or whatever. Everyone knows how the negotiation game goes. But in terms of this particular fight, Ben Shalom has said to me, Boetzy don't want to fight you. That's the point it's gotten to.
Right.
So, because that's why the fight is not happening. Everyone, if you look at me in my career, I've fought the best people in the division when I shouldn't be even in the ring, on paper.
Well, let's get into your future a bit later on. And,
Okay.
I think that probably Josh Boetzy might say something different, so we'll get with that later on. But when you look at this fight, I saw Callum earlier on in the year, he did an interview with me talking about whether he was going to fight again after the fact he'd been beaten in the manner that he'd been beaten by Beterbiev.
Yes.
Who do you think wins this fight?
Based on recent performances, I think Boetzy will win.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. Where are you on that, Spence?
Yeah, I think that you have to go with the momentum of Joshua Boetzy.
By the way, I never liked betting against the Smith because I think they were brilliant boxers.
Absolutely. I mean, look, it was, we're talking 12, 18 months ago, you're talking about Callum Smith, but in the pound-for-pound rankings.
Absolutely.
So you can't go off a performance against Beterbiev and go, the kid's done, because we just don't know that yet. And that's why this fight is so intriguing, because had you asked me before the Beterbiev fight, you'd go Callum Smith would probably be an overwhelming favourite against Joshua Boetzy. I just think the timing right now, momentum right now, you're gonna if you're a betting man, you go with Joshua Buatsi, but you can't write Smith off for sure. It's a great fight, man, 50-50.
Obviously, on this bill, and as I say, it's an embarrassment of riches, and we'll go through them bit by bit if we want to. But one of the fights that really stands out for me was the heavyweight fight between Zhang and Ajak Kabayel. I like Kabayel. I liked him. I liked him what he did to the big Russian at Christmas last year,
Makhmudov,
and what he did to Frank Sanchez. You know, people, obviously tipping Frank Sanchez to be someone of significance, and Kabayel to me is exciting. This is potentially the battle of the Bacoli Dodgers, if you want to make that case. It's a good fight. I mean, when you look at that fight, Anthony, what do you think of it, and who do you think is likely to win?
Zhang he's a big puncher. He's a big puncher, southpaw, got a good style, but I don't see him winning that fight.
Yeah.
He got made to look slower and cumbersome against Joseph Parker, didn't he? Against Joe Joyce, he looked like he was lightning fast.
I think Zhale Zhang, his big problem is that, down the back end of stretch of a fight, the penultimate rounds, if you like, he seems to gas and he seems to tire. And Agit Kabayel is one of those guys that just keeps working. He's a workhorse. And he's and he's a great body puncher as well, which takes a lot out of a fighter. And will tell you, as those rounds wear on, you keep getting Zhang to the body, and it's not an easy thing to come through. So, I think you go with the recent performances. Kabayel, for me, would start a favourite in that one for sure.
There's reports where these reports are, but apparently there's reports suggesting that Anthony Joshua could fight the winner of this fight. Do you think that's realistic? Do you think that's part of a rebuild mentality that Anthony Joshua could be becoming part of?
Well, if the reports are true, that's what's happening next. That the winner fights Anthony Joshua. Should it happen that way? I don't think so. I think that, we should see Anthony Joshua in with someone like a Deontay Wilder. I've been vocal about that before, and I think that that's probably where he sets to put himself back onto that winning streak again. But I think that he may be jumping the queue by boxing the winner of this one. This is a WBC interim title fight, and all of a sudden Anthony Joshua gets that shot again. It sort of seems unfair on the other fighters who are out there. You mentioned him, Martin Bacoli. Where is he? What is happening with Martin Bacoli? Surely that guy deserves a shot before anyone else.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, before we get on to answering that question, I wanted to ask you what you've made, Anthony, of the perception. I don't know how realistic it is, but the perception is that Anthony Joshua has chosen not to take the opportunity to fight Daniel Dubois again. You took the opportunity to go and avenge your loss against Lyndon Arthur, and to me that was a brilliant performance, one of the most exciting performances I've seen from a British fighter in some time. Like a whirlwind going in there. But what do you make of Anthony Joshua potentially suggesting to himself and his team, advising him not to take the Dubois rematch?
If he did do that, because again, I don't know, speculation, then I would disagree. I wouldn't have went that route. The only time I wouldn't have went that route is if it was like a bigger fight, like Fury or Usyk. But other than that, you got to avenge it, because the way that fight happened, the way it ended, again, that's like a career-ending situation. So I feel like you've got to go back and avenge it.
But is it different? I mean, both of you can answer this question. Is it different? Your loss against Lyndon Arthur was because it was a lacklustre performance during COVID and you weren't yourself, right?
Yes.
Anthony Joshua got knocked out.
Yes, badly.
Is there a big difference in your mindset as a fighter going back and taking a rematch if you've had a bad performance, it's been a performance and you've not been yourself, but you haven't been cleaned out? And getting cleaned out the way Anthony Joshua did?
I think it comes down to mentality, maybe what he's been advised. But again,
I'm asking you as a fighter. I mean, you haven't really been knocked out in your career, have you? You've been stopped by Kovalev, right?
Yeah, I'm Beterbiev.
But you weren't knocked out. You were.
Yeah. I wasn't knocked out. It was just stopped.
Joshua was knocked out
badly. But I don't know, because I haven't been in that position, so I can only talk about situations I've been in. We spoke about this earlier.
Yeah,
people,
absolutely.
They have an opinion based on a situation they've never been in. But based on what I think of myself, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night.
Right.
Unless I thought that.
So it wouldn't make any difference to you. I mean, ultimately, you only know if you're in that situation. You're right.
Yes.
The only people that can speak to something with authority, really, people can have an opinion.
Yes.
And they can give you an educated, informed one. But the only people that can really speak to it are guys that have done it.
Yes.
Hence the reasons why your opinion is more prevalent than someone like mine's. When you watch the sort of movement around of people, again, I said at the beginning, the battle of the Bacoli Dodgers. Where do you think this leaves Martin? We know that he's fighting a potential a fight against a Nigerian.
Yeah.
That most people tip him to win and come through easily. There is a point, because we were talking a couple of weeks ago, Spence, about the fact that however they want to dodge him, if that's what they're doing, there is going to be a point where he's going to be the mandatory for one of these belts, potentially the IBF. So they can't get around fighting him forever. But where do you think the fact that these two fighters that were linked to him have gone a different route leaves Bakole, besides fighting potentially a name that's less exciting for people that are watching Bakole develop?
This leaves him as the chairman of the Who Needs Him, Who Wants Him club right now, and they'll only fight him if they have to fight him, and that's where it's at, because Martin Bakole, people know what he's like. I mean, and you'll know, you'll have seen him train in the gyms before. Everyone's seen him sparring with all the big names, and the guy does very, very well. Like, no one's going to want to fight him unless they have to, and I think that's where we're at right now. If there's another opportunity for someone to go somewhere else and fight someone else in that heavyweight division, they will do that, because Bakole potentially has the beating of all the heavyweights out there right now.
So it's up to the governing bodies, really, isn't it, not to allow that to happen? If
he's highly ranked, Simon, by all the governing bodies now, so it's only a matter of time. If he comes through this next fight, I think it's a final eliminator, actually.
That's my point.
Yeah, it's a final eliminator for, is it the WBC? I think it might be the WBC or one of the titles anyway. Yeah, one of the belts.
I thought it was the IBF. But
it might be, yeah.
But whatever it is, it's one of the belts.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that if you've got something that really... If Fury beats Usyk, is Fury really going to be fighting Martin Bakole next? Or Usyk again? Or Anthony Joshua? Ultimately, it leaves Martin Bakole in slightly a difficult position, doesn't it?
It's an interesting one, because we've seen there, like, I'm with you. I would have gone with Anthony Joshua, there to be great. You know, you're talking about legacies and three-time world, heavyweight champion, etc., etc. You have to go over old ground with Daniel Dubois at this stage of your career, because that's where you're at. That's my advice. It's a huge fight.
Big fight.
And that opportunity to capture that title again. And I think that's where you go now, because he's sort of put himself into this ground, and, he's probably been advised by his team to say, right, let's sit this out, watch what happens to Fury and Usyk, see what happens with them. Well, what does that mean? Like, so if Tyson Fury comes through and wins the fight, he then boxes Anthony Joshua, who's coming off a loss to Daniel Dubois? I don't see that happening.
But
so I don't know where...
Would you watch it?
I don't know where...
Would you watch it?
Oh, of course we would. Yeah.
And everyone would. That's why that makes sense.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. What I'm saying is, I don't actually see, you're gambling on depending on what happens with Usyk versus Fury.
Yes.
The trilogy might well be there, because if they come through another thriller like the last one, that would be public demand.
But there's no way if Fury were to beat Usyk, unless they can't make a commercial deal, there's no way in my mind's eye that Usyk wouldn't want a third fight.
Yeah.
Because he's not tasted defeat.
Yes.
It strikes me as unlikely that a man built the way he is going to accept defeat gracefully and say, well, I'll bow out in a defeat.
Yeah.
So it's very likely that, in these sort of hypothetical scenarios that we conjure up, that ultimately, if Fury were to beat Usyk, that the scenario is that they'd fight again. Going into other fights in this undercard, one of the very interesting fights, I mean, it's difficult to say which one of them is not interesting because they're all brilliant, but for the casuals that are looking in at this observation, you've got Vergil Ortiz Jr. fighting Israel Madrimov.
Yep.
Now, I know how good Vergil Ortiz is, but lots of people that are watching it from a much more casual position, maybe it's better for you to set up what this fight looks like.
It's not just
what we're
Vergil,
witnessing.
Vergil Ortiz, but Madrimov as well, who's a great fighter. He's coming off a narrow points defeat against Terence Crawford, to tell you exactly where that sits. He was like 160, 116, 112, 115, 113. So he had his moments in that fight against Terence Crawford. Dangerous guy. I mean, he's only, 11 fights in or something, but a very good amateur who's turned into a very good professional. Vergil Ortiz Jr., he's coming off a victory, a split decision against Boracek last time out, and it was a tough fight. He picked himself off the floor in the 8th round. He had to ask himself questions, but that might have been the sort of the apprenticeship that he needed before getting into these big fights. That's a 50-50 fight for me. Like you say there, Simon, I'm looking at that card and going, it's one of the best cards, I think, the best card I've ever seen. 50, that could be fight of the night. That is a great fight, that one, because stylistically, both guys like to come forward. Both guys have a high work output. They're technically good as well. It's a great fight. Great fight.
So super welterweight is like middle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, just getting my bearings as to where I've got Conor
You're
Benn.
going old school with like middle, like showing your age.
Yeah, well, probably I am. One of the big fights of the night, and if again mischaracterisation because they're all big fights, is obviously Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker. I'm personally pleased for Joseph to get this fight
Yes.
because I think ultimately he deserves it. I think his performances against Zhang and against Deontay Wilder have merited it. I think it's the right thing because I think boxing should be meritocratic and he's the next cab off the rank. And whilst people might have wanted to see Anthony in with Daniel Dubois, in the fairness of opportunity for people, Joseph Parker has merited this shot. How do we see this fight going? How do you see this fight going from the outset?
Dubois is a powerful, young, with momentum. He's powerful, he's young, he's got momentum right now. He's just beaten Anthony Joshua in sensational fashion. But Parker, for me, is that ultimate banana skin in the heavyweights right now. So he's got the style. Again, for him, the way he beat Zhang, a lot of people wasn't expecting that. So I do think this is one of them slippery fights. I would have preferred, for the entertainment factor, I would have preferred to see Dubois, AJ again.
Is there any thought process without doing any disservice to Joseph Parker? And I think he's been a much better fighter since he's hooked up with Andy Lee.
Definitely.
I think it's brought something out of him. I think there was observations about him previously that he perhaps didn't let his hands go as much as he could have done. You know, the fight against Anthony Joshua in 2018 was perhaps ruined by the referee and his interventions all the time. But is there anything that about the fighters that he's fought in recent times that have reignited his reputation, which is a sort of spent Deontay Wilder, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, and potentially an ageing Zhilei Zhang that looked very good against Joe Joyce because Joe Joyce was so remarkably telegraphing what he was doing and walking onto shots all day, every day, like he does in previous fights. Are we in danger of overcooking Joseph Parker in this instance?
Definitely not.
No?
I think that Joseph Parker, people forget that he's only a 30-year-old guy himself. He's a young man himself. He'd done everything at a very young point, and he was written off, totally written off. Especially after the Joe Joyce defeat, you looked at that, and it was a bad knockout, and it was a slow, systematic beatdown, really. And I was one of those guys that thought, he can't come back from that. I think that's probably he's the end to him at the top. But he's rebuilt and he's done really well. And it's all about, in boxing, Ant will tell you, it's all about confidence rebuilding. And you know, that plays a huge part of it, the psychological side, where he will now believe in himself. Deontay Wilder, wherever he was at in his career, getting a victory over him in the manner that he'd done that is going to be huge for him. Zhilei Zhang, a guy that is, you know, the most avoided heavyweight or one of the most avoided heavyweights, even still now out there. And he got the victory over him and he went down to the wire, he bit down on his gum shield and pulled out, you know, a great victory there. So, no, he's on an all-time high at the moment. This is a huge banana skin for Daniel Dubois because people are asking, with Joseph Parker, can he take the power of Daniel Dubois and whatnot? Well, there's nothing to suggest he couldn't. Zhilei Zhang's a heavy-handed guy. You know, going back to Anthony Joshua. Who
whacks harder, Joe Joyce or Daniel Dubois?
I think Dubois probably hits harder than Joyce. Joyce is more of like a continuous...
attrition.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, without wanting to be facetious, Joe Parker couldn't take Joe Joyce's power.
Well, I would say...
So if Daniel Dubois is more powerful, is there not an indication that potentially he might not be able to take Daniel Dubois?
I would say Zhilei Zhang hits harder than Daniel Dubois. So that's where we're at.
Right.
So, you know, and trust me, Parker took some shots from him. And Zhilei Zhang is heavy-handed. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, Daniel is.
No, we know
Zhilei Zhang is.
We know he is. Do you not think, because I do, I think this is Daniel Dubois' time now. I think he's come to the ascent at precisely the right time. He's come through all this adversity. People questioned his heart against Joe Joyce. And boxing people questioned it. David Haye questioned it, and people that have been in the ring that know what it's like, not just people that have got a lot to say for themselves like me. But I didn't question his heart. I just questioned why his corner didn't look after him better rather than him being forced to make the decision. Then they questioned his performance, I think, against Kevin Lerena. Then they questioned his performance against Usyk in terms of the fact, did he swallow it in the ninth round? And then people were putting him as an underdog against Jarrell Miller, which I didn't. I thought he should have beaten Jarrell Miller. But the Hrgovic outcome, which I think a lot of people didn't expect him to win. Hrgovic told him he was going to take him to school. Got nowhere near taking him to school. Whacked him with everything he could. But Daniel came back, and then the Joshua manner in which he beats Joshua just details to me that I think he's now there.
He is.
I think the way he walked into that ring at Wembley Stadium with 90,000 fans ready to anoint Anthony Joshua and was ready to go tells me that, and the way that he's communicating with the media, the way he's coming out of his shell now, because he's a shy boy, he's not great in front of the cameras, but he's now becoming more articulate, he's now becoming more confident. I think this is potentially Daniel Dubois' time.
Yeah.
Totally I think it's a very, very difficult fight for both of them, but I think it's a more difficult fight for Joseph Parker.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you on that one as well. I think that ring walk that he had against Anthony Joshua showed the confidence that he had in himself. It was gladiatorial in many ways. You know, where we thought Anthony Joshua was going to be the guy that walked out like that. It was totally the opposite to what we expected. I think the rebuild of Daniel Dubois was really, before the Oleksandr Usyk loss actually gave him the confidence to believe, actually, I belong at this level. Yeah. Because he had his moments in there and maybe, a bit more experience at that level and maybe.
But I think it was the moment in the Gerald Miller fight, wasn't it? Where he bit down.
Yes.
And people were looking at him and going, "Are you going to come through this?" And he went again. Yeah. And he went again. And he came through it. And I think that's the moment that took him into Hrgovic, and then doing what he did to Hrgovic puts him in that fight against Joshua.
And also, Anthony will, back me on this one, I'm sure, but it's about finding the right trainer, and it's not just about the physicalities of whatnot. With your trainer, it's about working on that psychological, that mindset and whatnot. And Don Charles has done a great job with him with that. Yeah. I spoke to Don in depth about it. I see them training in the gym, and Don says, look, it's not about the physicalities with Daniel because he's an athlete.
It's all there.
It's all there. Yeah. He says, here, it's about believing in himself, and that's what Don's been working on. So a lot of credit goes to him as well.
Yeah. Yes. The main event of the evening, one that you will particularly be looking at, I suspect, Beterbiev versus Bivol 2. Well, did you think Beterbiev won the first fight?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
What do you think Bivol's going to have to do in this rematch to get an outcome that he didn't get in the first fight?
I think work rate. I think that was the difference in the first fight. At all times, Beterbiev was, whether it was hitting his gloves, whether it was missing, he was consistently throwing, he was on the front foot the whole fight. So I feel like even though he landed some telling clean shots throughout the fight, I just feel like there's that taking ownership of the fight. And that's what I don't think Bivol did in the first fight.
What do you think happens in this fight? Who are you picking for the second fight? I've got a feeling. I picked Beterbiev in the first fight, one of my few picks that I got right. But I've got a feeling the way Bivol lost that fight, the way he accepted it, that there is going to be a potentially different outcome, maybe a more explosive fight in the second one.
Mm-hmm. I think it's about adaptability, and I think that Bivol is that guy that is, is that boxing IQ. And all right, he may have got it wrong, and in the moment, it's very difficult to adjust with a guy like Beterbiev. Ant would tell you better than anyone who's this phenomenal monster that just keeps coming at you, and you haven't got time to sort of adapt and program it. But I think that now he would have gone away, thought about it, and I believe that he is that superstar status, and I think that he can make those minor adjustments, those fine margins that will make the difference between him winning and losing the next one. I'm with you. I think Bivol wins.
For relatability for people, I went to your fights, and I thought it was a brilliant fight. I thought you were great in it, but I thought that there was a point in the fight where his level went up and you didn't go with him for a variety of reasons. Yes. But that's easier for me to say. Yeah. I'm very interested to ascertain what it's like to be in there with Beterbiev, to be on the receiving end of someone who's taking... you hit him. You gave him some big licks, didn't you? And he took them. There was a couple of moments where you got him going a little bit, but he bit down his gum shield and raised the level. Yeah. So what's it like being in with him?
It's a consistent pressure. It's almost like you're close to a mirror. Yeah. you're trying to escape your reflection.
What's in the punch power like?
Do you know what? You know how we spoke about Joe Joyce and Dubois and the difference in power? For me, he's almost like a train. He's like a train like Joe Joyce.
Physically strong,
strong.
Not one punch power.
Yeah, physically strong, and it's a consistent wear down. That's why if you look at his record, a lot of his knockouts come after the 6th round. Yeah. Because he wears down his opponent, and it's consistent, accumulation of punches. So,
what's it like being in there for you? Obviously, I'm watching from ringside, watching you having some success, and I'm seeing this guy still there, and I'm seeing you looking confident. You're landing good shots, but bit by bit, he's breaking it down, isn't he? So I'm trying to understand what that feeling is like for you in terms of, are you conscious of this? You've got Tundi in the corner giving you guidance, telling you what you should and shouldn't be doing. But how is the process of the fight? Are you across the fact that this is becoming more and more challenging and that you're beginning to get tired? How is it playing out in your minds?
There was different points in the fight. Early on, I felt very, very comfortable. And then I think after the 3rd or 4th, the pressure started coming. Yeah. And then around the 6th, I started getting comfortable again. Right. And then I think the fight ended in the 8th, innit? Yeah. And then he caught me with a big shot. And I was like, where did that come from?
Is there a point in your mind, like when you're in there and you're sort of biting down, and we know we were talking about it upstairs, weren't we? When you're going through a 12 round, it feels like you're in the ring for a week, right? Where you have those moments where you're feeling, a month. You feel sorry for yourself. Where like this is where the good trainers know there's a time to pick you up, or there might be a time where you're feeling sorry for yourself, but that's the time to pull you out. You know, and that is the point of a good trainer we were talking about. But in that fight, when you're going through those moments and how tough that is there a point where you think he's got to be breaking soon, but then he turns a screw and makes it and gets stronger, and that's the breaking point maybe for you?
For me, in that fight, there wasn't really a breaking point. For me, I just got caught with a very, very good shot. A shot that would have knocked a lot of people out cold. So it was one of them shots where I stood up, I was like, what's going on there? And then he continued. So, and everyone knows what Beterbiev was like with finishing opponents. So I feel like that's why my corner made that decision. I would have wanted to continue.
I was going to ask you that. Do you look back on that fight and think to yourself, OK, if I hadn't have done this, if I had have done this, what do you think that you could have done better in that fight? Everything?
Yeah, 100%. Because Beterbiev even said it recently, or before his fight with Bivol, that he can tell that I prepared very good for that fight. And I do feel like I've got the skill set, or I've got the tools to beat Beterbiev. I know it sounds crazy for me to say that now. I was up on the scorecards before I got stopped. I'm open to the rematch, because I feel like that's one of the most exciting fights in light heavyweight division.
I don't disagree. Do you guys think, given the nature of this fight card, this crescendo fight card, do you think this is the best fight the Saudis? This fight card is the best fight card the Saudis have put on yet?
I think it's the best fight card I've ever seen. Actually, when you look down there and you go, down from the top to the bottom, and you're looking at like Whyte, Callum Smith, even like, but that's not rubbing you on. It
would have been better if it was Anthony Yarde.
Absolutely, but you look and you go, that's actually down the bottom of the card. It is insane, mate. Yeah, you can't deny that.
If it was me against Whyte, would it be at the bottom of the card?
Definitely not. There you go.
Got to get some of that Saudi money, mate.
It's not, for me, it's not. It is about the money, but it's not. It's about making these fights. I've shown my character. I want to be in these big fights. I fought Beterbiev. Like, I fought Kovalev in Russia. I've always been that person where I'm like,
do you want the winner?
Fight.
Do you want the winner of Callum Smith versus Whyte?
Yes.
OK.
We're calling for it here. There you go.
Another fight that's, again, fascinating, but even more so for us because it's got British interest, is Hamza Shirez fighting Carlos Adames for the WBC middleweight title.
Yeah, it's a great fight.
That's a fight Hamza can win, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fight that he can win, but Carlos Adames is a decent fighter. He's got a great boxing IQ as well. Switches from orthodox to southpaw, heavy-handed, throws his punches.
But Hamza's at this level, isn't he?
Yeah, well, listen, this is what we're going to... When you're the challenger for a title, right, Carlos Adames has now proven because he's got it and he's got that title. So this is the now coming-of-age fight for Hamza in many ways, as in on this world stage. He's done nothing wrong up till now. We've always talked about him. Yeah. It's only a matter of time before he wins a world title. He gets that opportunity against Adames. I put him as a favourite, I really do.
It's fascinating.
But Adames is a great fighter.
He is.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. If you want to get a fight for a middleweight title, you can get one, right? So what's Chris Eubank doing? You can get world title shots if you want them, can't you?
Well, to be fair to Hamza, I mean, he's been calling for that fight, hasn't he, with Chris? Yeah. You know, that fight never materialised. Yeah. I'm sure that if Hamza Shiraz wins this WBC title, you might hear Chris Eubank's name popping up.
We're 3 weeks out from arguably the biggest fight of the year, which is obviously the Fury-Usyk rematch, or Usyk-Fury rematch. We've just seen the video.
Yeah.
Anyone who's seen that video is a brilliant, brilliant video.
Epic. Listen, that's the best one I've ever seen.
Listen, anyone that's even not a boxing fan, if you watch that promo and you see that, you can't not be enticed.
I mean, this is, when we talk about Disneyfication of sport, that's the embodiment of it. That is a proper promotional video. Going into this fight, I mean, who are you backing, Anthony? Who do you think?
If I had to choose somebody, I would say Usyk again. Usyk again.
For rinse and repeat, because you don't think Tyson Fury can get the best version of himself in the ring?
I think Tyson Fury's got the attributes to beat Usyk. And I feel like if he is more serious, because there was times in that first fight where he did seem like he was playing around. He did seem like he was overly confident. But Usyk, from what I've seen, he adapts. And he was just in Fury's face for the whole fight.
You got a point?
No, go on. What are you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, we spoke about the changes. we spoke about the adjustments that we thought that he might need to make. But Dillian Whyte was on talkSport earlier on in the week, or last week, and he had this view about what Tyson perhaps needed to do.
Yeah.
They're at risk, but you need to smother him. No, the perfect example, fight him like you fought Steve Cunningham. That's how he needs to fight. That's how he needs to try and fight Usyk. Be dirty and never go. But I think Usyk, me and Tyson Fury is cool. We fought me and him is cool. Me and him's always been cool. But I just see it's a very hard task. You know, it's heavyweight boxing. You can't write him off and say, oh, he's going to lose again or this and the other, because he's shown that he's been on the canvas so many times. He got up and win. He's had rematch, and you know he's been down and come back. You know, so he's been out, counted out, and come back and got back to the top of the game again. So I've always said it about the man. He's a weirdo and he does weird things. You know what I mean? You never know what he's going to do. You know.
Do you agree with what Dillian's saying there, Anthony?
I do. The only thing I would say is we haven't seen the same Fury since them Wilder fights.
That's the worry.
All 3 fights he got knocked down, and they were heavy knockdowns, and he hasn't been. Them fights were his comeback, you know.
Well, do you not think that, given that you went in against Dillian, who was the mandatory and completely outclassed him, and then gave, with respect to Derek, who put Usyk through a difficult fight, a 12-round beating, are we not only talking about a piss-poor performance against Ngannou and the issue of Usyk, rather than just simply saying that he's not been the same fighter since Wilder?
It's when he gets hit.
I think we're talking about also when you're talking about levels and where each set of fighters sits in this heavyweight division, and you've got your elite and you've got your challengers, etc., etc., and you just see the gulf in levels with that. And I think that, and hit on some brilliant points there, you know, with Tyson Fury, that if Tyson Fury can rediscover but you're going back to like Klitschko 2015, those sort of times when you're talking about movement, there's rumours circulating actually he's going to come in a lot heavier for this one. Will that be his undoing doing that? You know, because if he's looking to pull him, I think you're playing into Usyk's hands. Maybe he has to set the traps. He's good at doing that. Draw Usyk in. You saw that uppercut you threw in the 6th round. Draw him in, let those sort of shots go, then pounce on him. That may be the way to do it, as opposed to trying to bull him.
Have you removed your arse from the fence? Or are you still sort of sitting there pontificating about if my aunt was my uncle? Have you made a more of a definite viewpoint of what you think this fight's going to look like?
No, definitely got splinters on my arse right now, because I'm still definitely on the fence with this one, as in who wins and who doesn't win, because I can see a way that Fury does win it. Right now I'm leaning towards Usyk, as in because you just go with the way that he is. Fury's good in rematches when he goes back. He genuinely is a better fighter. But you're talking about Oleksandr Usyk here, who's great at adjusting as well. And that's that's the difficult thing. It's still very much a 50-50 fight. I lean towards Usyk to win the fight still. Do
you boys think, and I know it sounds like a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because you know the minds of fighters. Given the fact he's lost, and he's never lost before, and given the manner in which he talked about Usyk as a rabbit and a middleweight and God knows what else, do you think Tyson, and the fact that he's also accepted now, he has said it himself that he lost the fight. Prior to recent times, he didn't think he lost that fight. He now said at the press conference in London, where they said virtually nothing to one another, but he did say that he thought he'd lost the fight. Do you think deep down in his bones, Fury thinks he can win this fight?
I do, and then hit on another valid point there as well, when you say that he was around a little bit at the beginning of the fight, and that may have cost him those close rounds where the fight could have gone the other way. He now knows he's in a fight where he can't do that. He can't get away from that. And maybe that his mindset will be different, and losing as well may give him the kick up the arse that maybe he would have needed. And that's why I think that we might see a completely different Tyson Fury to the one we saw in that first fight. And that could be the difference between winning and losing. So, yeah, definitely.
That's true. But I also can see that being his undoing.
Right.
Because I feel like when Fury is a bit like elusive and he looks like he's messing about, but he's doing things which are working, if he goes in there too serious, that will play right into Usyk's hands, because Usyk will see certain things he's trying to do. Instead of him scratching his nose and throwing a crazy jab, he's going to speed it and trying to outbox Usyk, and Usyk will just be side to side, stepping in. So I feel like it's such an interesting fight.
It's going to be fascinating, isn't it?
So fascinating.
Now let's move on to probably the most interesting subject for you, Anthony. You.
Yes.
Where do you see the immediate future? We saw Tundi came on the show a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, whose company I really enjoyed and thought was interesting. He had you fighting cruiserweights next. Where does it... Well, we can hear from Tundi. Let's hear from Tundi before I start paraphrasing what you said.
Anthony Yarde is ready to fight
Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yarde is ready to fight Chris Billam-Smith. Anthony Yarde is ready to fight Kovalev if he can find himself back in the mix. Anthony Yarde is ready to fight Dmitry Bivol. Anthony Yarde is ready to fight Beterbiev too. Anthony Yarde is all about fighting.
Okay.
And up until the other week, any chains that were there have now disappeared.
Great. So Yarde's free. I'll tell Buatsi.
And you can tell Frank, you can tell Eddie, you can tell Ben Shalom, you can tell the man himself, Turki Al-Sheikh. There is nothing stopping AY from fighting. Nothing. And you're not hearing it from a third party or a cousin or a friend that's a friend of a next friend. You're hearing it from the manager. You're hearing it from the trainer, Tunde Ajay. I'm telling you,
I want AY in here
we're ready to
telling me
fight.
Yeah. Facts.
Very good.
As you said.
He talked about the cruiserweight division. Is that realistic for you? Do you want to go in there?
Absolutely. For me, it's like, what's an exciting fight?
Right.
You know, what would entertain the fans? My tune has not changed since I turned professional. Is that an entertaining fight? Let's make it happen.
But to be clear, your future lies at light heavyweight, but you would step up to cruiserweight if that opportunity rose.
100%. If it's an opportunity that makes sense. For me, I've always said this as well. If it's a fight that makes sense for me, and not only that, we're seeing it with me now. I want these fights that make sense for me. I want the Buatsi fights. I would have wanted to be in there with Callum Smith. We tried to get that fight. He said he was on his honeymoon.
Right.
So
what do you take
look
from
at the
that
next thing.
So what are you taking from that then? If you're saying that it's not you, it's everybody else, right? Because inactivity is a challenge for you, Anthony, because
Yes,
you've had
always has been.
one big fight since beating Lyndon Arthur, which is Beterbiev. You weren't hugely impressive in your last fight.
I was awful.
Which, okay, fine.
To my standard,
I'll let
and
you
in
say
my
that.
opinion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But why are these fights not happening then? If you're saying that Callum Smith tells you he's on a honeymoon, because I spoke to Callum Smith in February, March of this year, and are you going to fight this year? Yeah, I'm going to fight. And I mentioned your name, and he was like, yeah, I'd happy going with him. So he doesn't want to go in with you, and the Smiths don't really duck anybody. Buatsi, apparently, according to you, doesn't want to go in with him. And I spent the entire summer listening to Ben Shalom wanting this fight for you.
And yeah, Ben Shalom wants
Buatsi.
Yeah.
But being told by Ben Shalom that Buatsi wants this fight, he don't want Willie Hutchinson. He wants you
So why
because
did he take that
contractually
fight?
he has to have you as a result of his relationship with Boxer.
So then why did he
is
take
it
that
breaking
fight?
down?
Okay, these are the questions next.
Yeah.
If he wants me, why did he fight, what's the guy's name? Willie Hutchison. Because
But you know why.
What, why?
You know why, and I know why.
Go on, why?
Because of the situation with Queensberry.
No,
This
is no, please. I don't want to put things out there that's not true. This is not the case. I was saying I'm a free agent, which I've shown I was. Hold on.
Understood.
I was a free agent and I still am a free agent. I want to work with Frank in the future.
Yeah.
There's no bad relationship there. I want to work with him. I'm open to working with Eddie, Ben Shalom and all these kind of people. Frank Warren has been like an uncle to me.
Yeah.
There's a love relationship there.
Yeah.
So there's no bad blood. It's just that I want to have these big fights. So you're saying about Buatsi wanting to fight me. Why did he not fight me then?
But but without wanting to be hugely indiscreet.
Yes.
Right. I know exactly how the Hutchinson fight was made. And at the centre of it was the challenge that Ben had with your contractual status and and Queensberry asserting their position, threatening to throw legal ramifications around.
Okay.
And the perspective was, let's see if the situation can resolve itself between Tunde, Anthony and Queensberry.
I understand
And we'll
that.
take the Hutchinson as an interim to fulfil an obligation under the Boxer contract to Buatsi. But my understanding of it was the perception was that Buatsi wants to fight you. But the other side of it is that you guys have a distinct valuation of what you will and won't fight for.
Okay, now you've made a point. Now I want to make a point that
Please do.
counteracts it. So why did my last fight happen with Ben Shalom? There we go. This is what I'm saying. There's all these. This was a contractual dispute or whatever. My last fight was under Ben Shalom on Sky
My
Sports.
understanding from that would be because it was setting up the fight, giving you a bit of
All right,
activity.
cool, but
Setting up a fight with
Buatsi just
Buatsi.
fought.
Wait, let's not get away from this spot. this cooking pot.
Yeah.
If the reasons you gave me was about contractual disputes and that Ben Shalom didn't believe all these kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So why did I have a fight with Ben Shalom? Because I was out of contract. Yeah. So I don't want people to start listening to all these excuses and things that are not true. I said it publicly. I'm out of contract.
Yeah, I heard
I'm
you.
a free agent.
Yeah.
I'm open to working with friends. Everyone's saying like, I'm like, oh no, you know, forget this and forget that.
Yeah.
There's been no bad blood.
It was about matching rights, wasn't it? The argument was over matching rights.
Did you have that fight because that pushes you closer even to Boatsy because obviously
Activity.
because he's with
activity.
Right.
Everyone's seeing what's happening now. And again, I'm in a situation now where people say, I want to fight Anthony, which, you know, I've said it openly, you know, different promoters can approach me or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But then these fights are not happening. They're taking other routes. I've spoken to Boatsy personally. So as Tunde said, you're the friend of the friend. You're a third party. You're hearing what other people are saying. And for me, the fight, there's no reason on my side this fight cannot be made. I'm open to fighting Americans, you know. Andre Derell called me out. I said, yeah, okay, cool. He's a big name in America. I'm open to fighting anybody. Lyndon Arthur free makes sense. You know, that's a thing. He can come out of retirement or whatever he's doing. I can have a tune-up fight against someone like Lyndon Arthur. While I'm waiting for this Boatsy, I'm not going to wait for these guys. You just said it yourself. Inactivity has been my thing. I've been inactive. I'm the best light heavyweight, in my opinion, on the planet. But I've been inactive. So it's going to show in certain situations, like the last fight. It's going to show when I'm in the 7th round against Beterbiev. It's because I've been inactive.
I mean, I admire the confidence. I mean, the evidence is going to perhaps show something different. But you want to be captain of your own ship.
Yes.
I mean, again, I don't want to make the point too bluntly. I spent a lot of time with George and I spent a lot of time with Ben on it, so I'm very versed in this situation. So it's not, I'm not sitting there with a friend of a friend.
Yes.
You know, I'm the one that negotiated the Hutchinson deal with George.
Yes.
So I know what was involved in that discussion. But you want to be captain of your own ship. You want to control your own destiny. It's something to be admired for that.
I want to be involved.
And
Not
that's
in full control.
And that's right as well.
Yes.
Absolutely. But you want to do it on a fight-by-fight basis. Yes, no?
I wouldn't say 100% yes, but, you know, preferably for me. That's what I said. I want to be involved. I wouldn't say I want full control at this stage.
All right. Let's not argue about semantics or debate
Yes.
the vagaries and peculiarities of how much control you do or don't have. Let's look at what 2025 could and should look like if Anthony Yarde has his way and gets his opportunities. So why don't you lay out what you expect to be able to achieve or what you would anticipate there's a distinct possibility you can achieve in terms of who you fight and where you go?
Okay, so I wouldn't say options, but what would make sense for me? I want to be in big entertaining fights. I want fights that the fans actually want to see. I'm sick and tired of having these fights where people are questioning or saying, why is he fighting him or whatever. Any of the domestic light heavyweights, you know, that's Lyndon Arthur, that's obviously Smith and Boatsy.
It's true. Knocked him out, cleaned him out.
It's true. It's true, but then give me another option. I'm not going to sit there and wait.
So what you're saying is...
And that's a fight that still sells.
True, but do you think... No. Anthony, I like watching him, so I'm inclined to watch him in whichever fight he goes into. But I've seen him deal with Lyndon Arthur. So I'm looking at it going, well, if I'm not seeing Anthony Yarde in with Josh Boatsy, or I'm not seeing him in with maybe Callum Smith again, depends upon the outcome of this particular fight, then where is
Anthony? Where Ant's going is you go now, you've got Joshua Boatsy fighting Callum Smith, so that fight is happening. Yes. He can't sit around and wait for the winner because he's going to be inactive for too long again. Yes, he needs to be active and have a fight, and that's what he's saying. Give me someone that is going to be competitive. Yeah. Lyndon Arthur, go over that again.
I don't like him.
And that will set up effectively the winner. That gives him the opportunity to stay active and get the winner of Callum Smith and Joshua Boatsy. Am I closer?
Yeah, that's 100%. I want to be active. Like, I had 12 amateur fights. That's no experience. Yeah. I've fought 2 world title fights with no experience after 4 years with 12 amateur fights. So I've shown my character. I want to fight these guys. I don't care about all this, you ain't got enough experience, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I don't care. I want to fight.
Yeah, I don't think anyone throws that argument towards you, do they? I mean, I think the first fight against Kovalev, people looked at it as being quite early in your career.
Very early.
And you had an opportunity there.
Yes.
Because you had him going.
Yes.
And the Beterbiev fight, I think they're just looking at Beterbiev and saying, look at the level of this fighter. Yes. Look how brilliantly Anthony performed in it. But they were more looking at the level of Beterbiev rather than saying, anything negative about you.
Yes.
And it brings, every time I think of you and speak of you, I always think of you and speak of you in the most glowing terms because I think you're entertaining to watch and engaging. And I think I said that to you a few years ago when I saw you at one of the ringsides. So when you look at 2025, how many times do you think you want to fight and how many times are you likely to fight?
For me, the stage I'm at in my career, a perfect year for me would be fighting 3 times. All big fights. But all fights that, are selling points, fights that people want to see. Because it's right now, the time in boxing is sensational. Sensational.
Listen, ideal scenario for you is to wait for the winner of that one. Whilst waiting for that one, have a fight, take the winner of that one, the winner of that then gets a world title shot. That would be the ideal. There you go.
But then who do I fight while I wait?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You need someone that's going to be competitive.
Dan Aziz?
Dan Aziz, but come on, he just come off 2 losses.
Yeah, I suppose.
And I understand your point, but I think Lyndon Arthur is still, on paper, a more entertaining build-up and fight.
Probably.
Yeah.
Whilst I've got you here, before I let you go, I've got to ask you this. Where are you on the Benn Whittaker debate?
Oh, man.
About what he is, about what happened in the last fight, and where you think he's going?
Okay, so the first thing I will say is I really love watching him. I think he's entertaining. I hope he can bounce back from this because I do think it was a cop-out. This is just my opinion. Everyone's got their opinion. I don't think he hurt his ankle. Leaving in a wheelchair was crazy. But he is a very entertaining talent, and I think there's a reason he's been quiet because he's seen it and been like, damn, like it's obvious nothing happened to my ankle. If it did, then I'm sorry, but it don't look anything happened to his ankle. I thought the fight was turning. He got hit with a couple body shots he didn't like. We spoke about this earlier, but when a fight is in a new situation and then they ask themselves questions.
And listen, when you're in that situation, you've got to ask yourself those questions and you're in that moment, you've got 100th of a second to make that decision.
Yes.
Sometimes you make the wrong decision.
Can I say something as well? You see when we was talking about Fury and we were saying when he seems like he's messing around and then he doesn't. So this fight with Benn Whittaker, it was the first fight I haven't really seen him showboating. He looked awful.
Yeah, it didn't work for him.
Exactly. So
Didn't work
that's the same thing with Fury. It's like he might need that showboating. He needs to have fun. Because if he don't, he has a lackluster performance like he did. And I feel like God was in his corner that day that gave him a little way out where he can come back. Is
the pursuance of a world title shot and winning a world title still the major driver for you?
Definitely. My career has been, because at the end of the day, it's like, you look back, when I'm your age,
I'll be bloody cheeky.
No, I'm saying when I'm your age,
you'll be as wise as me.
When I'm as wise and as senior as you, or you. You want to look back and be like, yeah. Like, so far, I'm saying because of, my courage and, the account I've had of myself. But again, when I'm...
You're at the stage of your career right now where it has to count, and you're at that stage.
By the way, that fucking burns, that. Because I always used to be the youngest person in the room. When I was young and buying football club at 31, I was the youngest person. Now I'm pointed at as the old season, and that's a bit disconcerting.
I just say you're old. I just say when I'm your age.
When you're my age.
Senior.
You sort of did say it, but didn't say it.
Do you, without wanting you to commit to anything or put yourself in the way of it, do you look at having a much longer career? Because I was talking to Nigel Benn about what he wants for Conor.
Yes.
And put aside the controversy, but he wants him in and out of the fight game. Okay. He wants him to do... Nigel was in there for 9 years.
Yes.
Won his world titles, finished his career, blasted everybody out, had his wins and had his losses, and went out in a puff of smoke with great achievements. He doesn't want Conor in the fight game for long. Do you look at it without saying, I'm planning my exit? Is your ambition to be in and out of this game, very quickly achieve things, make a decent amount of money and move on with your life? Or do you fight because you love fighting and you want to be in the fight game?
I love fighting. It keeps me active. It keeps me focused on something. And I love being in the gym. My love for boxing is beyond imagination because it keeps me learning, keeps me progressing in life. But it is a challenging sport. It's very dangerous. It can be depressing at times if you give in to what, the public are saying and, you're not getting support and all these kind of things. But I have got love for the sport. but I don't want to be in the sport for too long. You know, you see your.
What are you, 33 now?
I'm 33 now.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't had a long career. I haven't had a hard career.
You make your workplace a very happy place.
Yes.
I've seen you in the gym with Sunday and all that family experience you got.
I'm loving it.
And you're dancing, you're doing whatever. So that gives you longevity.
It does.
Because a fighter, when he gets to that certain stage of his career, you know, and you've been around now for a while as well, and you've had those opportunities, and you can get frustrated maybe like now and go like, lose heart in the game a little bit, and you go, so it's very hard to stay motivated. How do you stay motivated at that point? That must be through the gym and that family, you know, 100%. That family environment you got.
To be honest with you, how I stay motivated is because it's always been about me. In my head, it's always been, you know, can I be better? You know, can I be a better version of myself? Can I? And I've always said this in my career. If you look back and see interviews, I've said, I don't care about him or what he's doing. I don't attach my name to nobody because it's not about anybody else. It's my career. You know, I'm not waiting for this person. I just said it just now again. Yeah. I'm not waiting for this person because my career is not determined by somebody else. It's always been within me, like me versus me. And it's like, I'm trying to elevate myself. I'm not trying to use anybody else or elevate anybody else. I'm trying to, it's always to do with me. So I feel like I've just got an obsession with trying to progress myself.
I'm just trying to think what I was doing when I was 33. Oh, I know. Making 100 million quid and owning a Premier League football club.
Didn't you lose it, man?
Not when I was 33.
I don't know. I don't know how quick it happened.
Thanks very much.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you look at this current crop of the light heavyweights and think to yourself, when they shuffle off, Beterbiev and Bivol, that gives me an opportunity to have my time. That's the reason why I ask you about Whittaker, is because he's coming up next. And it's not because I want you to shine a light on Ben Whittaker, because it's about you. I'm just curious to see how you view the landscape.
How I view the landscape is we don't know the future. And that's just me being 100% honest with you. We've seen it time and time again with names being thrown out there or different up-and-comers, and then they're gone. Or they rise. My eyes right now, I'll be honest with you, has always been at the top. I want to fight Beterbiev again. That's my ideal fight, you know. Other than the Boatsy and, you know, all these other big names that people are asking for, I want to fight Beterbiev again. That's just me, because I was, in my head, I was so close. Adjustments, and every time I've had the kind of opportunities, you've seen me get a bit better. But
you're at that stage of your career, and you go, like, Kovalev was what, 2019? 2019, you go back to Kovalev, then you wait until all those years until you get the Beterbiev fight, and you see the marked improvements, and you're still 33 and fresh because of that inactivity. And so your burning desire is at the very, very top because you've competed there.
I've competed there, and I think from what I've seen, people age with activity. You know, so
yeah, it depends what activity they have.
Exactly.
They're getting into wars.
Exactly.
If you're Derek Chisora,
you
thrive and survive in that environment.
And that's how they age. So you've seen other fighters, you know, haven't really been hit that much. Luckily, haven't hurt their hands, had any broken bones or anything like that. You see their career, they've maintained a certain level, but it's when they've taken so many punches or been in so many hard fights, you start seeing them. You know, their punch resistance goes. We were talking about Tyson Fury. Has his punch resistance gone after them 3 fights with Wilder?
Well, look, we saw what it done to Wilder. That's the point, isn't it? Like,
exactly.
It had a massive effect on Wilder.
Yes.
That is for sure.
Moving on, last weekend we saw the ending of a career and the beginning or liftoff of one, which is probably the best way to describe Galal Yafai's victory over Sonny Edwards. Let's have a look on something that was broadcasted live on DAZN on how he did it.
This could be a big pivotal moment in the fight. Edwards in the neutral corner, firing single shots. Will that be enough for the referee? Into the second minute of round number 6, and the referee steps in, and that is a quite sensational victory for Galal Yafai. The Olympic champion takes a step closer to becoming world champion in the professional ranks.
And Galal now joins us. Galal, how are you feeling after the weekend?
Yes, boys. Yeah, I
well
feel
done,
good,
by the
you
way,
know.
mate. Well done, by the way, mate.
Congrats, man.
Cheers, thank you. Yeah, I feel happy, you know, nice win. I think every boxer will tell you after win, it feels nice to just relax and eat what you want and yeah, live normal.
Yeah, Galal, I was going to say that, like, you know, you seemed very relaxed after the fight. Like, you knew you was going to get victory in that fight. I know you both got history, and we'll get into that in a minute, you know, going way back to the GB days. But, like, you know, I saw your interview after the fight, and it was like you already knew it was a foregone conclusion that this was going to happen. But actually, you started underdog going in against Sonny Edwards.
Yeah, you know what? We'd sparred for years. Yeah, I just knew I was a better fighter. I knew what Sonny possessed, you know, and I thought what I possessed was better, and I thought what I've got, I can cancel what he's got. And I showed that on Saturday, and yeah, people are trying to take my shine a little bit, and you know, saying he weren't the same fighter and whatnot, and all of a sudden now he's washed and he's shot after ban, but he was all right 4 or 5 months ago when he beat Courier, who was world champion the fight before. But yeah, it is what it is.
Was it always the plan, Galal, to come flying out? Because you came out fast, straight out of the blocks. Was that always the plan?
I think if anyone watched me, I don't think it was a shock. I'd seen people, you know, writing me off, including you, Simon, thinking I was going to lose.
I owe an apology. Yeah.
It's all right, mate. No, you don't have to apologise. Everyone's got their
No, when you're
opinion.
wrong, you've got to say you're wrong. So I was wrong. I apologise.
Yeah. I'm just better than what you thought, probably. Or Sonny's probably worse than what you probably thought.
No, you were better than what I thought.
You were better.
Yeah, listen, I think it takes a lot, mate. The way you started that fight when you come out in the first round, but I was very educated in what you'd done. Not a lot of fighters can cut off the ring the way that you've done that. And Sonny, you know, people talking about Sonny's legs being gone, etc., and all that. You go, well, you can't go off that Bam Rodriguez fight because he looked good in the fight after that when he got the victory. But it was the manner that you cut that ring down that slowed him and pinned him on the ropes. And that, you know, that takes a lot to do that. That's a good fighter that can actually do that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's what we worked on, and I had good sparring. And I think people forget, like, I don't know if they watch me in the Olympics, but I'm fighting the best fighters in the world who are the best on their feet. Kazakhs who have got brilliant feet, Cubans. I'd sparred Sonny as well when I turned pro in 2022, and I knew my feet were better and faster. I knew I could close the gap, and I did in sparring. So I know I could do it in a fight. So when I see people saying that, you know, Sonny's going to have a fast start and I'm going to come on late like I'm a Mexican plodder who's, you know, 40 years old, it's just, yeah, it was ludicrous to me, but I'm glad I proved them all wrong on Saturday.
Can I ask you, Galal, were you expecting, again, I'm not trying to lead you into a commentary which is diminishing of Sonny, but were you expecting more from him in his fights?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Probably, but I'm glad I didn't because it was an easier fight for me. But, you know, I know people are saying Sonny weren't the same Sonny and whatnot, and, you know, I can't really talk on that because I don't know what Sonny turned up, what Sonny was going to turn up, the best Sonny, the worst Sonny. But I think if we do that, we can do that about every fight, you know.
Exactly.
He was expected to win. I won. And yeah, I was a better man, and I think I would have beat him on his best day. I know I am. We sparred 2-3 years ago before he fought back. And I was comfortable then, so I knew that.
You know what I'll say to you? Yeah? Enjoy your victory and stop listening to the naysayers. You won. You won in fantastic fashion, and that's it.
You know,
Focus on that.
History always says, you know, when you get a victory and you go, the manner that you won that fight and how easy you made that, then, you know, the negative people always say, you know what, that weren't the best Sonny, you know, Sonny was gone. Take props yourself, mate, for what a brilliant performance it was. Because, like I say, cutting the ring off and the work rate you put in as well. I want to ask you about the adjustments, actually, from the first round where you was loading up with those big shots, but you made those adjustments and all of a sudden took the power out of the shots and started throwing more of accumulation of punches to sort of wear him down. Was that the game plan as well?
You know what? Yeah, you're right. I was loading up in the first round. I don't know if you'd heard the Rob in the corner. He said to me, "Stop loading up, put them together." And we worked on that in the camp in training. And I think I got a bit crazy in the first round. And, you know, I'd hurt him in the first, I think, 20 seconds. So I just wanted to kill him when I saw red. Well, not kill him literally, but, you know, hurt him. But yeah, I slowed down after that. And Rob told me to put them together, stop loading up. And yeah, I listened to him. And yeah, it worked eventually.
Not to take anything away from you, Galal, there was an interesting development in the corner in the second round. For those that haven't seen it, let's have a look and see what happened in Sonny's corner at the end of the second round.
Right? Standing too close to him, lad. Standing too close. Have you got it in your legs to keep moving?
Man, no, I'm gonna be real, Chris. I don't want to be.
Don't be stupid, lad. Don't stop. Listen, stop feeling sorry for yourself right now. Stop feeling sorry for yourself because you've had one bad round. Bite down on your gum shield and sort your head out.
When you see that, Anthony, do you think his trainer should have pulled him out at that point?
What did he say?
He said,
He said, I don't want to be there.
He said, I don't want to be there. And the trainer said, get yourself together,
Pull
mate.
yourself together. You've had one bad round.
He probably got punched in his face very hard.
I think Chris Williams done.
I imagine he did, yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I think Chris Williams, the trainer there, done an unbelievable job. But to say, listen, mate, it's not at that stage of the fight here. You're feeling sorry for yourself.
That wasn't the question.
Okay, yeah, no,
The
but
question
no, he
was,
shouldn't have pulled him out.
Do you think he should have pulled him out?
I can only answer that question if I know Sonny Edwards and who he is as a person. His life at the time, all that kind of stuff, because it could have been a situation where he did pull him out and he's ruined the boy's life.
Yep.
Do you get what I'm saying? These boys,
But they already knew, didn't they, before the fight that he was going to retire?
Okay.
So they knew the mindset.
Okay. Then, no, let him take his beating. Done all the talking. He's been talking.
Yeah.
It's at what stage of the fight that happened, and you go, it happened after round 2, so you go, no, he needs a kick up the arse.
Yeah.
This is too early.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Had Chris pulled him out there, the shit he would have got off that would have been insane.
The shit from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. The trainer done a good job
And
there.
it would have done
exactly right. It would have been an injustice.
So let it happen the way it happened.
Absolutely right.
100%.
Galal, just coming back to you before we go, I mean, you're now in a situation where 2025 looks even brighter than it probably did before the fights. A world title shot next against Taraj or someone like that?
Yeah, hopefully, you know, I said before the fight, I take one fight at a time.
Yes.
I weren't looking past Sonny. You know, it's just, Sonny was a hurdle. I got over that. And now I'll go over the next hurdle. Wherever that is, I'll leave it up to Matt Truman and Eddie Hearn. But yeah, Sonny was ranked #1 in the Ring magazine. So he was a top fighter. And I think I've got that spot now. So hopefully I can fight for the world title. And hopefully I can win it. Because if I lose in my next fight, then it's still me, is it?
Well, hopefully that won't be the case, mate. Listen, well, thanks for your time. Well done. Congratulations. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2025, mate.
Yes.
Well done, mate.
Down, boys. See you in a bit.
Well done, mate.
Thank you very much. That's it for episode 98 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver. We've been having a great time with Anthony Yarde. Nice to see you. Good luck with 2025. And we'll see you guys next time we're out.